So that would be a 2-hour workshop on this matter. So a bit different than the other Core-CG meetings. So we'll be presenting that together with Ruud and Steve. Just a bit some housekeeping up from the meeting. So as you can see, the meeting will be recorded today. We would like to have your question on the chat, so you can use the chat during the presentation to address your question. And if you have a specific question, you can also put the number of the slide so we can come back to your question easier. There will be after each topic, well, then after the topic, a Q&A session. So you could also like raise your hand during that to address your question more specifically. And in the follow-up, we will have the minutes and final meeting documents that will be shared to the distribution list, and the JAO Q&A forum will be implemented as well. So then on the next slide, this is the agenda. So as we were saying, so the call is dedicated to intraday capacity calculation go live. So our different people will introduce the roadmap updates, the go live deliverable overview, the latest KPI results for IDCCA and B, and the building zone isolation. So explanation on where precongestion are located and the next step. And as I was saying, there will be also the Q&A there. And then we'll finish with IOB and closure during the meeting. I think that's a bit about it for the start.
Yeah, and maybe it's good to mention that in the Q&A we already have pre-received questions that will be provided with answers, but obviously there is the possibility to answer also questions on the spot.
Indeed.
Yeah, maybe Bernard, then it's up to you, I suppose, to kick off this part on IDCC.
So I will give you, indeed, thank you very much for the introduction. So I will jump in immediately. I will give you a short update of where we are with the go live of the IDCC calculations, and then Michel Rutke and we also have Nakisa present, who will present more on the KPIs, and then I will come back with next steps just before we go to the Q&A. Yeah, and there we will all intervene, I guess, during the Q&A. So this slide gives you, yeah, this was the slide with the planning. Yeah, the planning has become more and more simple, of course, in terms of IDCC A and B. So everything that needed to be developed has been developed. And so we have still, as today, as the status of today is that we still have the IDCC implementation, the go live of the non-zero capacities on IDCC A, together with the IDA go live. So they will be provided as soon as IDA 1 is available. And then for IDCC B, until further notice, I would say we still are planning a go live on the 15th. We will give you a short update of what is still on the table for this go live, and then yeah, we are checking at this moment this date if we can keep it. So let's go to the next slide. So where are we in terms of our deliverables? So XBit integration, making sure that whatever we deliver towards the market platforms is working. So the final testing was performed and there are no blocking issues. So this is a very clear update compared to the last meeting where we still had to do the testing. So we can now say that delivery of capacity towards XBit will go correctly, and everything has been tested also with to make sure that it works with the version 4 of XBit, so the one that will be used for the go live of the IDAS. Analytical reporting, all the reporting that we are able to deliver, so and which was not recently introduced and which still needs to be developed, but all the other reportings are live, so that should be okay as well. The final business processes, so a lot of work has been done on fallbacks to make sure that if something goes wrong, that we have a good fallback and that we can still provide capacity, even if some calculation would go wrong. We would always be able to provide, well, normally always been able to provide backup capacities to the market in any way. Biggest issue is the stability of the parallel run. Yeah, you should, or you might have noticed that we have some troubles at the moment, and most of these troubles are not really related to the capacity calculation tool. They're more related to the interfaces. So there are some quick fixes that are still being worked on. We have worked also this weekend and today on some fixes. So it still seems that we are managing everything. It's mostly external causes if something goes wrong in the IDCC. So we still expect that if everything external goes well, so once everything has gone live externally as well, that the IDCC will run as well very smoothly. So that's why stability is still in orange, but we still expect it to turn green in the coming days. Go live version of the final tool. That one went live a few weeks ago, and so that means that also in terms of tooling, we are in the version that goes live. Final methodology, you know that the final methodology was decided by Acer on the 15th of March, and which allows us to go live in May. The methodology says that we have to go live before July, but normally we go live in May, as I said. So process stability. Yeah, we have had some issues with the stability of the external parallel run. They're still happening. So what does that mean? Yeah, it means that we have a little bit of, I would not say doubt that we will not, that if we will have any problems, but we just want to make sure that we have all the fallbacks right. And so we want to make sure that even if something goes wrong, that we have fallbacks in place to ensure that we can always deliver capacities. And also, yeah, we have found that sometimes we need a few extra minutes during the process. So just to make sure that this is okay, we have decided that we would start the process 6 minutes earlier with the DACF of 6 minutes earlier, just to be sure that we can deliver capacities in time. If during make sure that the whole process, which normally runs between 8:15 and 9:45, give it 6 minutes extra to make sure that it has sufficient time to run. It does mean that to use an earlier DACF, which might be of slightly less quality. We have analyzed this, and we did not really find a lot of decrease in quality of these 6 minutes. So most of the time it is the same quality. Sometimes there is one or the other remedial action missing, but most of the time it is the same quality. So it doesn't really reduce the quality of the result on average, let's say. We have relaxed a little bit the critical end time of the process. We know that we are allowed to deliver capacities a little bit late to IDA 2 if it is absolutely necessary. So normally, if everything goes well, and most of the time capacities will be provided by 2145 and they will be published. In extreme cases, it could be that we need a few extra minutes, and then capacities could be provided at 2147, 2150. And still be on time for the intraday allocation too. But yeah, of course, then they will be a little bit late in publication as well. But this is implemented that this is possible. So again, increasing the probability that capacities will be delivered. And so, as I said, in fallbacks, we have now updated fallbacks to deliver IDCC-A to make sure that the IDCC-A results can be delivered. We have an extra fallback in the meantime. That is as long as IDCC-A has not gone live. So before the IDA go live, if something goes wrong with the calculation, we can provide the day ahead leftovers still, or we can provide IDCC-A results because they are calculated. We can provide them also to the platform, to the X bits at 10 o'clock in the evening. So that and that would be then before IDA go live. So if IDCCB would fail, it is still, and before that IDCCA is live, the IDCCA calculation exists. It is just not used, but it exists, so it can still be used for the platform.
We have a question in the chat from Joe Michel. He's asking if the publication will be late on a regular basis. No, it's only for these extreme cases where you need a few more minutes, and then the publication would then also be delayed with a few more minutes.
Yeah. The intent of everything that we've done is really to maximize the probability that our calculation is finished before 2145. So should be exceptional. On the next
Jérôme?
slide.
Yeah.
Jérôme, yeah.
Yeah. Do you mind if I intervene directly on the?
Yeah, sure.
On the front, I think it's going to be easier. So thanks for this first question. I have a second one on this new fallback procedure. So it says core TSO will not update the capacity in XBID, meaning that IDCCA will prevail. So it means if the process is not on time for IDA2, the supposed supposed new calculated capacity will not be allocated at all to XBID.
But if the process fails, there is no new calculated capacity. So that means that we just keep on using the old capacity.
But it may be because the process fails because it's too short to the gate closure time. Is this correct?
Yeah, indeed. We have until 2155 in extreme cases. By 2155, we still have not delivered anything, then IDA2 cannot use it. So it's impossible. So that means IDA2 will then use the previous capacity, which is the IDCCA.
Yes, for IDA2. Okay.
Yeah.
So at 5 minutes before delivery, before the gate closure, is a threshold to cancel the new IDCCB, correct, for IDA2?
Yeah.
Okay. Yes, for IDA2. There is still a scenario possible in case the calculation itself takes more time, but eventually gets pulled through after 2155 to still release it for the continuous trading after the IDA2 has taken place. So we identified this possibility, and I believe that that's also what you wanted to ask with your question. But we are there in a legal gray zone. So we have identified it, and we've also asked NRA's opinion on it, if that would be allowed to do.
Because I think it's very important that if not possible to put it for IDA2, in those 5 minutes, it should be put on a continuous market after.
Yes. And also you have to put in your mind that after allocation in the IDA, the AAC will be changed. So that's mean then we have to also compute again new if it's possible to put it on the market point clearing. So it's also needs to be somehow foreseen how to put it to be on the safe side, because we have to be aware that after market clearing point after IDA will be changed, then we have to also check it if it's possible to provide it, if it's safe for the security of the grid. Yeah, so we're working on it, but it's for the future.
Okay, but at least there is this possibility.
Yeah. In short, there is some changes needed in the tooling, and we need comfort from the NRAs that we are allowed to do this.
Thank you.
Okay, then the next slide is the parameter set. So this is the final parameter set that is going to be used for IDCCA and IDCCB. So the big table that you see in the middle of the slide is mainly mainly for IDCCA, but also the IDCCB is there. You see the top of the table is indeed the IDCCA and IDCCB common parameters. So yeah, IDCCA is still using the same parameters as today with the PTDF threshold of 0.5, the RAM ID of 10 megawatts, and the FRM of 10%, because this is still based on a D2CF model, and so we have to use a higher FRM, and we have to take into account all the CB, so with a very low PTDF threshold, whereas IDCCB is using the DACF model and is using the local validation mechanisms. So there we have put the new parameters, which we already know for some time, which is a PTDF threshold of 3% for any RAM threshold of 50 megawatts or less, and the FRM of 5%. So that is what is going to be used for IDCCB. And then below you have the individual parameters per TSO of IDCCA, still in the table, and this is up to date. So the last change was made in HOPS area, so Croatia, where the RAMR ID was changed to 0.4. This will be uploaded. Yeah, this was one of the questions. It will be available on Java as well, this table.
We also have another question in the chat. Can the TSOs also share the Java PUTO production URL for the ideal data publication ahead of go live? I don't know how you pronounce it, sorry.
I have to check the chat then. Publication tool, yeah.
Ah, okay, that's the short. Okay.
I think it will be available few days before. When I'm thinking now, and when it will be available, we can share it. Why not? Because it will be already published. So yes, I think it is possible, but I don't think so. It will be, for example, 1 week before, because today we have 1 week. So it's it could be really hard, but yes, to answer your question.
Okay. So then, as an introduction to the next point, a little background on IDCCA external parallel run results. So there are some KPIs on the next slide, which Michael is going to present. So the IDCCA capacities will be provided to IDA1 for allocation at 3 o'clock, but they will only be provided once the IDA1 is there. And so currently core capacities at 3 o'clock are 0. So when we are comparing day ahead leftovers, we will always compare them to IDCCB because that is the same timing and it's not the same process, but a likewise process with some validation step. So IDCCB and day ahead leftovers are comparable. IDCCA is only comparable with the situation today, which is 0. So today there are no capacities at 3 o'clock in the afternoon in D-1. So IDCCA is anyway going to be an improvement of what we have today. And then one last point is that at the moment there are still some capacity reductions by TSOs for IDCCA. This is due to the fact that allocations from IDA1 are currently not completely included in the DACF models for assessment of operational security. So as you know, there is as you might know, there is now a rule that is being implemented that any market activity that happens at least 2 hours before a congestion forecast has to be included in the congestion forecast. So for the 6 o'clock the ACF, that means that all the trading until 4 o'clock needs to be in there. In the past it was only day ahead, but now there is also some intraday that needs to be included in the DACF. Yeah, it's a bit contradictory, but it is what it is. And so as long as this is not fully implemented, APG is considering that they need to put the capacities at 3 p.m. at 0, so that it does not impact the operational security calculations. And the same potential non-inclusion of IDA1 continuous trading result. PSE also expects to reduce the capacities on their borders for the IDCCA at go live in June. We are working on this inclusion. Normally this will be done very, very soon. So June might be a little bit tight. It could be that it is until July or August before everything is ready. But this is a very short-term limitation. So because, yeah, we are following this up and we have really a lot of progress, but of course it is a DACF. It is involving all the TSOs, at least of continental Europe, but normally also from outside of continental Europe, but let's say at least the TSOs of continental Europe need to be compliant. So that means it's, yeah, we need some final developments still need to be done, and then we are ready. But the most important developments are already done. Let's say it like that. I want to create some comfort that this is not a situation that's going to last for a very long time. Okay, and then go into the KPIs in detail, and there I give the floor to Michel to continue.
Yep, thank you, Bernard. Okay, so we prepare, maybe on the beginning, we prepare the set of the KPIs for you and for today, and each KPI is prepared in the 2 periods of time, one in the whole period of the parallel run, and also from the last CG meeting. So you can see how it was changed during these few weeks. And then we can see some differences or some conclusions. So then we can start with this first KPI, the 0 ATC values for the IDCCA. As Bernard said, we can compare nothing to current situation in the market, because for the 15 it's a 0. So that's what you only see here. It's a 0 ATC values from the IDCCA process external parallel run for the whole period of the testing. Some main conclusion is that for the IDCCA, we have 14% of the time, of the whole time, a situation where 30 borders is with the 0 ATC at the same time. But from the other side, that it's more than today. So also a positive impact anyway for this time. And also we can see the on the other hand, the situation that only the 16% of the time there is a situation that there is 10 or less border with the 0 ATC value. But you have to also put in mind that there on the when we're looking at this graph on the right from the 100% to near a little bit about below 90%, and there is 0 ATC for the Austrian borders. So that's make a huge like I said offset for this results. So just keeping in mind that it affects really much this this KPI. Okay, then we can go further for the same graph, but from the last CG, from the 12th of the March. As you can see, the situation shows that there is more borders with the simultaneous 0 ATC. Yep, it's in the same moment we have less frequent situation that we have high number borders in the same time. So from the last few weeks, we can see improvements if we compare the whole period of time. So yep, it makes a better situation for the almost more than 5 weeks. Okay, then let's go to the next one. Okay, that's what everyone to know how this mean positive situation looks like for the whole period. As you can see, there is a few places where you can see there is a missing for the any values. This is the borders with the Austrian, Austria. And then also you can see that the values, it's approximately around them 1000 megawatts. So it's quite interesting thing if we compare it to nowadays only to the 0 ATC. So it's quite a good result, and we can also take a look which border there are. We can see that there is a lot of ATC for that border, which is often used by markets. So it's a good sign for us. Okay, so then let's go to the last few weeks. The situation is a little bit changed. You can see that the border with the France is much lower than usual. This is, as we know, the last few weeks for the border with the France were impacted from few operation changes, so they have to reduce possibility for capacity, and that's impacted the KPI. But nevertheless, the rest of the results, it's around the average positive ATC from the whole period. And there is a question. Would it be relevant possible to include the expect market direction information for that graphs, as all oriented borders are counted there? We can check it. I can't promise if we have this information, but we can take a look at this point, and if it's possible, then we can provide that information.
I think for IDCCB, it's certainly possible because there you have already some market results, so you can compare. You can look at the market results and say, okay, this was the direction that was used. For IDCC8, it's more difficult because there you really don't know what the market is going to do at 3 o'clock in the afternoon. So the only thing you can do is say, okay, let's suppose it goes in the same direction as the day ahead. Is that a good supposition?
It could be.
Yeah, I'm asking the market.
I see. Thanks. So I think it's a right answer. Okay, then we can go to the next KPI, the frequency of the 0 intraday ATC. Again, we can see the high peaks in this graph. This is again the borders with the APG. So this is 100% 0 intraday ATC for this border. But then when we're looking at the rest of the borders, the frequency of the 0 ATC is range from the 8 to 60%. I guess it's still better than the 0 for now. So it's even in that situation provide us more capacity than now. Then we can take a look at how it looks like in the few last weeks. In the next slide. And here you can see that the last few weeks was a little bit different. The frequency of the 0 ATC was lower, almost on the all core borders. So from the different time in the year, you can see that this frequency could be lower or bigger. So for the last weeks, it was much better. Okay, then let's go further. The frequency of the isolated core bidding zone. Here, again, high peak for the APG isolation due to the due to the situation of the zero ATC decision. When we take a look at the different borders, we can see that there is some bidding zone, like for example Poland. If we consider the import, that the situation is even more than the 50% of all the time. But we can see also the few borders like Czech, French, almost Belgian and Slovakian, which is near around the 25% of the whole the time in the direction of the import. In the export situation, sometimes similar, but not for the all countries. For example, for the Czech Republic, there is still quite high frequency level of the percentages of frequent isolation in the export. But for some borders like Romania or Slovenia, there is a totally opposite situation, which means that this direction is often isolated. And also for the situation that the both direction, it's zero or negative. You can see that it's around it's below 15%, except the APG Austrian border, where there was a decision about the zero ATC. So take a look. Let's take a look at the situation from the last few weeks. For example, we can see here that the isolation is quite decreasing if we compare with the holiday period, but still for few borders like Poland in the direction of the import or France in the direction of the exports, it's still the 25%. The Czech and Czechia and the Netherlands, they can see around the 20%, and there is a situation, for example, the Netherlands has a 20 also in the import, but in the and export, but the situation where both situation appear in the same time, it's a quite low, and we can see that's in the third of the graph where this situation is quite just few percent, and even hard to see how many. Okay, so then that was IDCC-A KPIs.
Yeah.
Now take a look
Maybe
at the.
just to conclude on the question that was in the chat, because I don't think that we've fully concluded that. So the relevant, for me, I'm triggered by relevant in the wording of the question, because of course there is data available about the realized day-ahead market situation. But if the question is about the expected market direction in intraday, I would say it's not relevant, because in intraday there is no like expected market direction. It's an adjustment market. So maybe the person asking the question could elaborate what his expectation is. So if Hugo Nahel, who asked the question.
Yes, sorry, no, it was just because I wondered if it was yes possible to enrich the graph and to see if yes when we have a zero ATC, if it matches a border where it's not the expected direction, maybe less less important if it's yes a border where it's not the market direction. I was just thinking of that, but maybe maybe it's not that relevant to include this.
Yeah, because my question actually would be back to you. Do you have an expected market direction purely for intraday trade? I always understood that it's more like adjustment market, so you can even see it a bit detached from what came out of the day ahead market.
Yeah, no, sure, you're right.
Okay. Okay, but then I think we understand each other, and we will not take any further action then on these graphs, just to make sure that we have a good conclusion here. Okay, thanks.
Okay. Going back to the KPIs, and we have IDCCB. There is quite a lot, 482 business days since we started external parallel run, and there is some excluded business days. This is 3rd of the March, 22nd to 24th of the June, 5th February, etc., etc. So you can see here, and that was concluded as due to some issues as not representative. So then was excluded from the KPIs results. So then we have 482 business days. When we take a look at the summary observed results, we can see that the occurs of the basing zone with the 0 or negative ATC, it's a quite lower if we compare it to this to the day ahead, the average positive ATC. It's significantly lower than that's what we have in the day ahead leftovers, but it's more distributed during the whole day. So sometimes even if we have a higher ATC now in the day ahead leftovers, and there's a situation that we have a more stable the distribution of this ATC during the whole period. It's better in the whole scope. So yes. And when we observing this result, it's important also to focus on that's relevant borders and direction, which is not often used by market. Yes, we can, as it was in the question, we can take a look and have own opinion, which is quite important border for the market, which is less. But still, for that border where the utilization of this ATC is bigger, then we can see that in the whole scope, it's good results. There is one conclusion also, the frequency of the isolation for the Netherlands. It's increased, and for the few other borders in some direction. We are aware of the situation, and we will working for that in the improvement of the process to avoid that situation for the future. So now, even if it's appear that it's a point in our agenda to foresee new solution to solve that situation. Okay, then we can go. Yes, Armand?
Yes, hello. I just had a quick question. Apologies, I missed the first couple minutes of the meeting. I don't know if that was discussed at the very beginning. I would just like to understand or confirm my understanding of the interim period. So what is going to happen between next week, so the 15th of May, and the go live of the IDA in a month? So in 1 week, what we will have is, so the day ahead leftover calculation as we know it right now will stop. But capacities at 10 p.m. will continue to be released on the IDCCB new process, but XBID will remain, let's say, 0 capacity from 3 to 10. But at 10 p.m. we see this new calculation with possibly some issues of isolation on the smaller bidding zone. Is that understanding correct of how things are going to evolve? And if not, can you correct me, please?
Yes, it's a correct understanding.
Okay, very clear then. Thank you.
And we will confirm, of course, closer to the go live, so throughout this week, that we really will do it on the 15th. So that's still a confirmation communication that you can then expect from us.
Okay.
Okay. So then let's go back to the KPIs. If we can see here, there is two colors lines. There one is from a day ahead leftovers, increasing decreasing process, which is the current process, and the IDCCB parallel run results. It's a red one. So if we compare this to two processes, then we can see that the number of occurrence of the bidding zones with the 0 or negative values, it's lower if we comparing it in the day ahead leftovers. So basically, in the most of the time, we can see huge improvements for releasing this ATC to the market. As it was in the ADCC-A parallel run, and there is some situation that for the 60% of the whole the time, each border has positive ATC. So it's a quite good results if we compare it to the now, where it's only 3%. And also, if we take a look at the situation where we have 10 or less borders with 0 or negative ATC, it's a near 76% if we compare it, and we can compare that in the day ahead leftovers with the 61%. So we can see here quite good improvements. Okay, and so take a look how it was in the last few weeks. We can see quite better results for the IDCCB than that was in the provided by day ahead leftovers. It's a quite lower. We can see almost here we can see around 11-12% of all the time it could be with all on all the borders ATC, positive ATC, so it's a good result. And then also the situation where the 5 borders with the 0 or negative ATC, it's only 66%. If we compare it in the day ahead, it's only 14. So it's quite bigger improvement. Then let's go to the next KPI. And the main positive intraday ATC. Here, as it was in the previous blue one, it's a current process. The red one, it's a process for the IDCCB. So we can see that there is some borders where this current process is much better for providing a bigger ATC, mean positive ATC, but mainly the better distribution, that what was said in the previous slide, is better. We can see also a few borders with improvements with that what we have currently. Yeah, and there is one good point is to be focused on. That's which border direction is most relevant. Yes, I see the hand up.
Yes, thank you for the complete result. So on this last bullet point, basically, I agree with the first part, but disagree with the second part. So I agree it's important to focus on most relevant border directions. But when you say some of the reductions are in directions which are not often used by the market, I disagree with that because, for example, Germany to France is one of the biggest border impacted by IDCCB. And we cannot, so I understand, yeah, the overall redistribution of intraday capacity across all borders, but we cannot say that some of the reduction are in direction which are not often used, because Germany to France is one, if not the biggest, direction used on the market. So I honestly, yes, strongly would disagree with the second part of the comment, and so that's why, again, putting back this topic to discuss on, what can it be to improve that to not only Germany to France, but also, for example, Belgium to France, which is also border used quite often. So yes, happy to discuss on possible improvement for this. But my point was mainly to comment basically on your bullet point. Also.
Maybe this is also one of the questions which is going to come back in the Q&A part. So
yes,
we can either treat it now, or we can come back to your question at that point in time, because I think we have a slide on it. So maybe it's better that we come back to your question at that point in time, if that's okay.
Yeah, that's okay. But really, it's also the comments on the slides. We cannot spread the message that some borders are reduced and they are not used by the market, so which is wrong, actually. But happy to discuss this border in particular after.
Okay, then we come back to this question later. Okay, then take a look how it looks like in the last few weeks. Then we can take a look that for some borders, we see the significant change. For a few of them, it's a huge change, like for the Belgium, France, German, France, and German, Netherlands. It's quite lower than from the day ahead leftovers, but also we can notice that on the other hand, that the rest of the borders, quite good part, big group of these borders also have increasing. So something we can see profits on other place to see the IDCC-B has a positive impact. Okay, then let's go to the next KPI, and the frequency of the zero negative or negative intraday ATCs. Then we can see also two colors. There is dark blue and light blue, and also red one and yellow. Bluish colors are for the current process, for they had leftovers, and two colors, yellow and red, represent the IDCC-B process. So we can see that for the most of the borders, we see the improvement. We can focus on that there is much less situation that it's frequent of the zero or negative it's appear. So it's a good news to have more business days with any capacity for this border. So also we can see here a few borders which is quite better in the general overview. Okay. Then take a look for the last few weeks. We can see for some borders there is isolation even at 60%. This is a Belgium-German border. A little bit lower, it's for the IDCC-B situation. It's a zero capacity, but still, we can trade with this capacity, but it's a little bit lower. And for the rest of the borders, we can see this quite huge change. For example, if we conclude France and Germany border, when this change was from the 40% to quite 5%, something like this. So we can see the IDCCB have also positive redistribution in the time, this positive values of ATC. Then let's go to the next slide, and the frequency of isolated core bidding zone. For few borders, that was mentioned at the beginning of the IDCCB KPIs, there are few borders which we see significant increase, especially for the Netherlands, and for few borders on some directions. If we compare that to they had leftovers results, we can also conclude that IDCCB has only the impact for the Netherlands, and that's what we will working on it to provide our process to make better situation for the Netherlands, who appear near 15%. Something like this of the whole the time, the isolation in both direction. It's yeah. But in the general, in the both directions situation is even if that was quite often now, it's a lower in the IDCCB. And then take a look at the from the last CG meeting KPIs. We can see that's what was foreseen in the whole the period, so the Netherlands, with the quite high isolation in the import and export, and some situation in the both directions. But also we can see that there is a few borders where we can see that the IDCCB caused the isolation, like for example Poland, where before they had leftovers, that situation even not appear. Yeah. So then we have bidding isolation. So Bernard, can you jump in and explain how it will be done?
Yes, for sure. Let me just, yeah. Okay, so this was indeed an important discovery that we made in the IDCCB results, that we have this situation where bidding zones get isolated in both directions, which is something that didn't happen when we were completely in an ATC world. This is something which is more common in a flow-based approach, where you can find yourself in an extreme position of the flow-based domain, which makes capacity unavailable in both directions, because either the capacity will overload one branch if it goes in one direction, or it will overload another branch if it goes in the other direction. So typically, this could happen in when you use parallel paths. So when you have a huge flow from, let's give the example from Germany to France. If the Germany-France border is locked, then also the parallel paths get locked, and then it can happen on the parallel paths that depending the way you want to get from Germany to France, that both directions get blocked, because otherwise there would be a parallel path and a critical branch that gets overloaded. So this happens now in the flow-based world. So what we are doing is we are taking this seriously. We want to see if it is possible to reduce this bidding zone isolation. Now, Michel already showed that recently it has decreased, but that doesn't mean that it cannot increase again in the future. So we still want to take this very seriously and analyze it. And yeah, the first step in analysis is to really get grips on where is this coming from. You can look at individual timestamps, but then you're only learning something for that timestamp. So we want to learn something more general. And for that, yeah, we have done some work, a lot of work, I think, recently, and Nakisa is here to explain it for us. We have done a lot of work to make a KPI that will help us focus really on where is this coming from, what are where are the critical branches located which are causing this bidding zone isolation situation, so that we can really tackle the issue and can really work statistically on, okay, it happens most often when the problem is there and not really when it is there, for instance. So that would really help us to focus and to come up with the most plausible way forward, to see if we can find something that helps. I'm always saying conditionally, I'm not promising anything, but we are going to look in it, and if we find something, we will implement it. So that's the only thing I can say. So for now, we have some thoughts already in between experts. We have some thoughts on possible paths, but it is really too early to give more clear statement on that, because we don't know if the thoughts are really going to lead to anything. Yeah? So that would be creating expectations that we don't know if we can keep them. So for now, let's say what we can present today is to focus on the causes and to look at the KPIs. So then I would like to give the floor to Nakisa to quickly show these KPIs.
Maybe Bernard, there's a question from Jérôme.
Sorry.
Yeah,
of course. Before.
Yes. So this bidding zone isolation, so would it lead to a postponement of the go live of IDCCB?
No. No, because this is not really new. So we have this already for some time, and if you say this has to lead to a postponement of go live, yeah, then we really don't know when. So is it still this year? Is it that next year that we're going to find, if we're going to find a solution, and then we're going to have to implement it? So our position is still that the results of IDCCB are in terms of operational security and in terms of accuracy of calculation of capacity much better than the day-ahead leftovers, which was really a temporary methodology to be sure to be able to give something to intraday. We really want to go something which is methodologically sound, and so we would like to go live now, and we will continue looking on the bidding zone isolation, but we would not wait with the go live until we have results on this.
Well, yeah, that's a big issue, no? To have this kind of frequency of isolation. Basically, you at this stage you don't know how long you will need to improve the situation. Is this correct? Or to find the solution?
Well, difficult to say a lot about this. Maybe the only thing I can say now at the moment is that we have seen that it is this end of winter and spring, which is usually the difficult months. February, March are the difficult months. It is already much better than last year. So I think in terms of making sure that the input data is correct, we are already doing a lot. So to try to reduce it. What can still be done? Well, many things will be done in the future, which is the introduction of the ROSC and the common remedial action optimizations, which are still in development. These are going to come, and we are also, well, if we delay this, then we delay everything else. So what we are planning to do also is to go live as soon as possible with an IDCCC. So a third IDCC calculation, which will deliver capacities at 4 o'clock in the morning. At least the calculated capacities will be there at 4 o'clock in the morning, based on an IDCF. So based on something which is much more accurate, much more closer to reality again, and which includes a lot more remedial actions already. So this would deliver then much more capacity, well, much more all possible capacities, and we expect much less bidding zone isolation. So we think we have to continue the work to not delay anything that follows, and to await the improvements of IDCCC, but maybe have some improvements already before. Yeah, I don't know if Steve or Ruud want to add something to this.
Indeed, we are required to make it go live. So the parallel ones have been there a long time by the time that the final decision has been made on the methodology. So we fully implemented this methodology. We presented them on many occasions, so we know that there is an improvement track regarding the bidding zone isolation, and it starts by creating transparency on the precongestions, and that is what Nakisa will present. But in all transparency, we haven't in all of the meetings haven't received like a position, a statement, anyone raising an alarm bell that this is absolutely killing the intraday market. So we of course got some questions on it, and it's an attention point, but not on that order of magnitude that it was saying, okay, this is something that cannot go live. No from regulatory side, no really from market party side in the previous meetings.
We also have to remember that current capacity calculation methodology also puts duty on the TSO to trying to find out how to increase ATC and do that analysis. So we even have to do this. It will be not only the promise, but we have to legally require to do some analysis how to improve and improve whole the process to provide more capacity for the market. Especially, I think the first point will be isolation of the bidding zone. Yeah. So.
Thank you.
Yes, indeed.
Thank you for clarification.
Okay. Then we go to the next slide.
Yes. Yes. Hello, everyone. I am Nakisa from Elia Grid International. Last time I was presenting for you the half-yearly spike for day-ahead capacity calculation. This time I'm very happy to present our new KPI for IDCCB, and I'm very looking forward for the next one. So, as Bernard and Michal just explained, the main cause of the bidding zone border is the pre-congested KNE, and by doing this KPI, we are going and we will monitor the IDCCB performance at all core border and hubs from the pre-congested point of view. And the analysis is for the 11th of April till 22nd of April. So first, some definition in our report that the KNE is pre-congested when the RAM is negative and zero or zero. And then we call this pre-congested KNE as the ATC extraction limiting or ATC ELP KNE if the zone-to-zone PTDF is bigger or equal to 3%. The input of the data is the final flow base domain that we filter the network element ACE code, TSO, RAM, PTDF. The quantification method is the percentage of the pre-congestion indicator. That I will explain it later in more detail. And some remark is that we are only looking to the timestamp that the ID FP domain is computed as a normal one, not with the fallback. And KNE, when the KNE is shared between the two TSO, we identify and highlighted this shared KNE in our report. Also, we have the special TSO for the Allegro. We call it like BEDEAL. The outcome of the pre-congested KPI is that we first identify the critical day for the study period that we do this report. And then also we have like have a like overview on the like what are the old ATC ELP kernel during this study period, or what are the TSO that they have this ATC ELP kernel, and also we look to the top ATC ELP kernel. The key message and observation from this KPI is that the analysis shows better that where are these pre-congested kernel located in core. Also, we can see that the highest amount of the pre-congested are in the northern Europe that has with the wind, lots of wind in feed. And also impact is also mainly seen on the DNL as well as NLBE, DEBE, and DEFR border, but we will see it in the report itself. Yes, if we go to the next. Yeah. So first, let's explain that's how we calculate the PPI for our report. Let's assume that we have ENTSO-E that has NEAs of NE1. And let's assume for the 30th of April, for instance, it has only like 3 hours of pre-congested. So these 3 hours are at 9, 10, and 11. That this TSO with this NE has like a negative RAM. Therefore, it is pre-congested. Then we first calculate that which border are congested, meaning that the zone-to-zone PTDF is bigger than 0%, and we call them or put a value as 1. For instance, for our 9, the first one has congested for the border BEDE, BENL, BEFR. And then with another CBCO for the same NE1, it's congested the BNL and then the DEBE. And as a sum for our 9, we consider all of the congested border. Therefore, it has like 4 border congested for our 9. At our 10, it has only 1 CBCO, so no calculation is needed for the PPI indicator. And then for our 11, we do the same as we did for our 9. And at the end, for the day, would be like the PPI would be all of the hours that we count over the study period. So this one is, for instance, for 1 day. Therefore, it would be like 2 hours over the 24 hour, then 8% would be the PPI for this kernel. So here is the here's the PPI. I don't know if there's any question or I see something in chat happening or not, or okay, just let me know. So let's see the first result. As I explained, we'll get for the study period the critical days. That means that they have a highest amount of this PPI over the whole 24 hours. And it was, for this case, would be like 14th of April. So in the table, inside the table, you see this PPI, that is the percentage of the time that this critical network element was congested for each of this border that is shown. And as an example, we can look at to the Mercator Doel, so 38051 of the Belgium. That is the DE2 that is congested the 20% of the day for the DE-BE border, like 5 hours of the day. Yes. So we can go to the next one. This is again the same logic, but like for the 16th of April, you can again see the list of the network element and then the TSO, and you see, like for instance, the first one is a share between the D2 and D8, so it's identified like this, and then you see all the PPI for the different border. and we just bring the highest, let's say, congested border, because it has like 38 border, just the highest congested one will come in this table. Yeah, so that's it for this one. Yeah, so the other one is that we also consider all the ATCL kene during the study period, and this is the very long table that we cut it to just to show it better here. You can see it like only the couple of the border that is congested, but yeah, it gives a very good indication that each of the pre-congested kene, which border and how many times, I mean, the percentage of the time that they are pre-congested, we can identify. And this is for the whole period. So this is for like 12 days that I consider for this study period. And here it is other way around, that we don't look to the kene, but now we filter it for the TSO. So the TSO that they have their kene during this study period, how was the congestion for each of the 38 border, and we can yeah, by doing so we can highlight that which TSO has the highest, let's say, PPI over that study period, that in this case would like the kene share between D2, D7, D2 and L, and then D7 has the highest value. Yes, and this is actually, it should come after the two slide before. That is just the table that I show you, that it has all the ATCL kene. Now, if we just look to the really top one, and we consider all the highest congested border for each of these kene, so we can have like a really summary of whole the period, that's which of the highly pre-congested kene during that period. Yeah, and yes, that's it. Yes, that was my part. I don't know if there's any question or if I was too fast. I don't know.
Are there any
Yes.
questions? And it looks quite clear, I suppose.
Sometimes it can be other way around. Hopefully it was clear. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Nakisa.
If there are any questions, don't hesitate. It was a request from you last time to have more transparency on this. So we've now made it in the presentation here. And it technically confirms indeed the relationship between where the congesters are located and where you see the bidding zone isolation taking place. And I believe, when I'm looking at you, Nakisa, this will continue to be published also, the KPIs after go live, right? We have some operational KPI reporting. Okay, so we'll continue to give transparency on this.
Yes.
We also have another question in the chat. If flow-based makes, oh yeah, go ahead if you want to ask it.
No, please. Yeah.
Okay, I thought it was Arnaud raising his hand. Okay, so if flow-based makes isolation worse, how will HAC Nordic flow-based impact these KPIs? Any analysis at this stage? If it's not clear, maybe Arnaud can explain it as well.
Implementation of advanced hybrid coupling in core in intraday, implementation of Nordic flow-based in intraday. So I don't think that this is already advanced, so no impact analysis at this stage. what will happen for event-side coupling is the same like in day ahead. We will set up a process with some impact assessments. So in due time, that will come, of course, into the implementation in core.
I think with that we can go to but the answer was clear, so we can go to the next topic. And these are the Q&A. Bernard, is it you?
It's me, but with your help, so
okay, yeah.
with the assistance of you two, and of course with the market parties who have asked the question. So the first one, I think we already answered earlier. So we showed the table of the different parameters. They have indeed not yet been clearly published, but the publication is foreseen on the Java website, and it's expected to be done by the time of this meeting. So we should go check on the Java website if it is there by now. But if it's not yet there, it is imminent. So I thought it was already done, but honestly I didn't check it. So that would be the first answer is yes, it is intended and it should already be there.
It will be done by the end of the week, most likely.
End of the week.
Yeah.
Okay, that's okay. Next question then. Some recent useful feature of the publication tool are missing from the parallel run page. Yeah, so we are checking this with Java what we can do. So that's all we can say at the moment. If these things can be included. The IDCCA parallel run shows a higher isolation frequency for several bidding zones compared to the current day-ahead leftovers. So yeah, first of all, when we looked at the big figure that you have provided, it seems you have looked at the initial ATCs and not the final ATCs of the IDCCA. So because you come up with other bidding zone isolations than the ones we have just shown here in the slides today. What we see is mostly the bidding zone isolation of APG, which is a temporary case and which will normally disappear once we have the go live of once we have the DACF fully aligned with the inclusion of the tradings. Bidding zone isolation is for the rest is very low on all the other borders, and so we're talking about maybe a few percent on Netherlands and Poland, but that's it. 1 or 2% on Netherlands and Poland, and of course 100% on Austria. But that is yeah, that is a manual intervention. Any other changes that's the difference that can be explained on IDCCA and why the IDCCA capacities are a little bit lower than IDCCB is of course the absence of the increase-decrease process. You know that currently the day-ahead leftovers, they are delivered at 10 o'clock in the evening, which allows us to do already a quite extensive security analysis, which makes the DACF already available to do a double check. This is not possible at 3 o'clock in the afternoon. So there is no real checking. So there is certainly not an increase process. Yeah, in case there are some uncertainties, we could still have some decreases which are necessary because we are not yet sure about what the DACF is going to deliver. So it is really, yeah, we really have to be prudent about delivering capacities at 3 o'clock in the afternoon. This is always going to be the case, so it will be difficult to really deliver a lot of capacities already at 3 o'clock in the afternoon in D-1. We also believe that the intraday market really needs the capacities closer to real time. They need a lot of capacity. I think that was said earlier, but it's usually it's an adjustment market which takes into account the latest variations on wind, solar, and anything else that can happen on the portfolio of the market parties. So the most important is that the capacity is there closer to real time, and that we are trying to make sure with IDCCB, and then further on we also have the IDCCC coming, which will again update the capacities for any activities from 6 o'clock in the morning onwards. So that means that 18 hours of the day will be covered by the IDCCC process, which uses an IDCF. Nothing to be added here. Okay.
Anything? It's clear, I suppose.
Okay, so here is a full overview of everything that is in the outlook. In what can we still do in IDCCB if it does not allow for intraday flow to be realized? If it does not allow for additional if it is deemed that capacity is still not enough. I don't really know what the question is. If the new methodology does not allow for intraday flow, so what are we going to do? The process of coordinated capacity is set out. It is fundamentally different. So that means indeed it leads to some borders where there is less capacity available, on some borders where there is more capacity available. We are coming to the question of the German-French border, so that we will keep for that point in time. But the aim is indeed to optimize the capacities over the complete region, and it's difficult to look at the results of a single border to judge whether the methodology is good or bad. We are improving towards coming from a D-2 common grid model towards a D-1 grid model. Virtual capacities are no longer included in the capacities that are provided at 10 o'clock in the evening, because we are using a DACF. We are including remedial actions. So the big step forward is that we are now properly calculating everything using the D-1 common grid model, the DACF. Some preconditions are still remaining in that, because not all coordinated remedial actions have been included already. To put the evolution in perspective, so with the introduction of core flow based in 2022, we had a propagation of virtual capacity which boosted intraday. Before, the intraday capacities were also less big than they were since 2022, so that was a good evolution. IDCCB has reduced indeed some capacities, but they're still better than what it was in the past, and they're more accurate, and that is more important. And so they are more accurate in terms of what we really can give to the market without creating problems in the system, so for operational security. Then, of course, outlook. We are seeking still improvements in the DACF creation process to reduce precongestions, improve capacities in intraday. Of course, computers are always getting faster and faster. We are going to continue looking at our processes and see how much can be done before 8 o'clock in the evening, before we have to start the IDCC. But it's difficult to promise many things. And as already said several times, main known improvements are the IDCCC at 4 o'clock in the morning, the introduction of the ROSC process, which will allow to use all coordinated remedial actions in the IDCF and in the IDCC processes. So those two, they are very clear. They are on the radar of improvements in the near future, let's say. Okay, then when we focus, for instance, on one border, for instance, the German-French border, we had some discussions on the figure that was provided, but I think the intent of the figure was mainly to to show that there are many occasions in which the actual trading, which is currently happening in intraday on the German-French border in the direction Germany to France, and there are many occasions where this trading is larger than the capacity that would be given by IDCCB. And that was the main message that I understood that you wanted to deliver, and so that there are apparently quite some timestamps where the trading from Germany to France in intraday is larger than the new capacities from IDCCB. So yeah, this is indeed we have probably underestimated a little bit how much this border is being used. We see indeed, if you look at recent data, that the capacity is almost always fully used in the market preferred direction. And so indeed, if the capacity is less, that means that it will also reduce the trading opportunities. So that is true. So what will be proposed? Well, everything on the previous slide. So we are going to continue working, and we are going to continue working on improved capacities. We have been talking about bidding zone isolation. We believe that this border is also influenced by the Dutch bidding zone isolation, as is the Germany-Netherlands, Netherlands-Germany, of course, Belgium-Netherlands, Netherlands-Belgium, and Belgium to France. So these borders are really influenced by this bidding zone isolation. So if we can find some solutions for the bidding zone isolation, this will also improve the German-French capacity.
Yes, thank you, Bernard, for that. So yeah, we discussed this already, but yeah, this is a key issue in our view. So yeah, I think it's important to try to find a solution to improve this capacity between in the direction Germany to France, because otherwise we could have I haven't done I can do then the analysis with a new result, with a new parallel run result, and with what we discussed on replacing negative ATC with zero value to have a better graph. I think it might lead to the same result that on a lot of occasion the current intraday flow couldn't have been realized with the current IDCCB methodology. So yeah, that's still a high concern in our view. So yeah, any improvement on that would be good, and to have a follow up on the what maybe a Rex as well once the go live is done, to have the next or maybe I don't know exactly when would be the next core CG, but maybe have just a quick call before summer possibly, or start early July to have a first Rex on the month and a half view on this. Maybe would be interesting.
I think we can work on regular updates. So if at least, and I think it was mentioned at least by Michael earlier, also we have the Acer study, as we call it. So in the decision of Acer, there is also this study that we will perform to see if there are ways to increase the capacities for intraday. Well, what can I say? We thank you for the message, and then maybe it was a little bit. Maybe we didn't notice it as much as we should have noticed it, but it's good. Now we have noticed it, and so we know that we have to take care about this. So we will see what we can do. So we're not going to ignore your message. That's all I can say.
Thank you, Bernard.
But what we can do is on our side, Ruud, myself, Bernard, with Celie, we can identify a date for a follow-up core CG call, where we can then also present our findings and an action plan on what are the measures that we have in the pipeline, aside from what you have already seen. But if there are any shorter term measures, then we can also present them there. I think it's good fair request to follow up the development, see how it also turns out after the go live, and and keep you informed about the perspective of improvement.
It may be like a 1 hour short call just to have a quick update on this.
So we will align to see if that's still possible right before
Yep.
the summer break, or it will come after the summer break.
Thanks.
Okay, we'll go to the next question. So the method to compute and publish initial and final NTCs, yeah, the general definition is indeed ATC is equal to NTC minus AAC. How now, yeah, in particular, if there is no negative ATCs, how can NTCs sometimes be negative? Well, that depends on the AAC, of course. So ATCs are defined as, or in another way, NTC is equal to ATC plus AAC. If the AAC is negative from the day ahead and the long term, if with an ATC of 0, it can be that the NTC is negative indeed. So that is possible. I don't really know what to add as this question, because yeah, the formula is correct, so I cannot give any further explanations. Okay, in terms of the allocation constraints, yeah, I can answer, or Michael, you can answer.
Yes, I can answer. Yes. Yes, it's my tough topic. Okay, so maybe that's what was last time answered, and there is a little bit misunderstanding. Because allocation constraints, it's unfortunately term which has two meanings. One, it's a group of any constraints, which in this group we have allocation constraints and the external constraints. And that's why it could be treated as a whole the group, which is include both of the options. Okay, so now here there was a question if the Polish allocation constraints has an impact for the extraction of ATC. So basically, if have any impact for the intraday ATC. So it doesn't, because we use allocation constraints, and allocation constraint is meaning not the group but the specific one allocation constraints, and that's one affect only the how much ATC or any trades can be made in that direction in the Poland, so, to the Polish bidding zone, basically. So that's value is only in the X bit. So basically, it will not affect any kind of the ATC calculation, because if we have to do something to constraints ATC calculation, then we have to use external constraints, which is exactly the CNEC. That's what you pointed in your question. And that affect the domain which is calculated as a final result. But in the IDCC-A and also IDCC-B, we don't have any situation that we're using external constraints. So it will not be used as a CNEC as you pointed here. So yes, it could be the CNEC, but in the specific situation of using external constraints, not allocation constraints. But yes, this meaning of allocation constraints as a whole group, it could be confusing. But the point is here that it will not affect in any kind of the capacity calculation.
So it was indeed me who asked the question. Maybe just to confirm my understanding then.
Mm-hmm.
So today indeed what we see is we have to add what is written in the publication tool as allocation constraint from Poland, we have to add it to the domain to be able to compute the correct extraction of the day ahead leftover. And so with the go live of the ID CCA and B, this will be stopped.
Yes.
Okay.
Because we will not use it anymore in the extraction of the from the core domain to the, that's what we have in initial, because it will not be transferred from the day ahead to intraday.
Okay.
So
Thank you.
will never it will not affect anyhow.
Just from a proper understanding, this is purely from a capacity calculation side. Is there still an allocation constraint value sent separately to the IDA?
It is directly sent to the XBit. How at as the same as it is now. So we don't have any changes to use allocation constraints. Yeah, so we'll provide updates, and that will be new. That maybe that's good to point it. That now we provide allocation constraints before 10 o'clock, and after IDCCA go live, then we provide much earlier before the IDCCA. The first version, I guess it will be around the 1345. So it is our requirement to provide before the allocation. So it will be published before the IDA 1. So you will be aware how this AC will be big or small, depending what you see in that's constraints, but it will not affect any capacity calculation. It could affect how many energy you can import or export from the bidding, the Polish bidding zone. But this is the same as it is now, so nothing new.
There's another question on the LTA inclusion.
Yeah, then the final question is, yeah, it seems again about the bidding zone isolation. I think we already treated this question previously. Yeah? So the answers I already mentioned them before. So
I think there's a question in the chat now. Is it?
The question in the chat. Sorry.
Yeah, about LTA inclusion.
Yeah, that's.
I guess it is already included in the day ahead domain, but if the parameter for extraction RLTE A parameter is 0, it for that's border will not include. That's and that's what you can find in that table, which was presented at the beginning of the meeting, and then you can find out which TSO each parameter has for extraction for the border.
So maybe important there is for IDCCA, there will then still be the LTA inclusion if the parameter is non-zero. For IDCCB, there is no more LTA inclusion. Okay. So this question was handled, and this was also the last question that we received beforehand. So then the floor is open for other questions that I think we tackled to the ones that were in the chat. Any other questions before we go to AOB?
I don't see any others.
No.
No.
Okay.
Then I propose to go to AOB. Yeah, maybe it's good to mention that we decided to arrange for an intermediate call on intraday to see if we can say something about the improvements. Like Steve said, it will be then the question whether it will be before or after the summer, but let's be in contact on that. And the next core regular consultative group is on the 17th of October, which covers all the core topics. And then, of course, we have the existing communication channels, the Q&A forum, and the ENTSO-E website, which will be updated as well for intraday. Yeah. If nothing else pops up, then I would like to thank everybody for contributing and also for preparing all this information for today. And let's be in contact and let's have a successful go live next week. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank
Cheers.
you so much.
Bye.
Bye bye.
Thanks.
Thank you. Bye.